So it's been 5 years, roughly, give or take, since I've gotten my IUD. I wanted to do an update because I said I originally would. So if I look over this way, I have little notes written up. But yeah, so I've learned a lot about my body and about how Paragard works kind of firsthand. It is a copper IUD, so it's non-hormonal, and some of the reasons why that I went into it were for some mental health reasons because of how I reacted with the pill. So I did want to disclose that. I have nothing against, hormonal birth control. It's just what I needed and how I wanted to go about it. So I do have a couple videos like right after that I got it, and I'll link them down below for you. They're still on my channel too. They're very brief and kind of but so initially I started having like a lot of like lady problems down there with it, whether it be like I started getting really bad yeast infections again, constantly, where I had to go to my gynecologist about it because nothing over the counter worked for me. And then so frankly that started to die down after some dietary changes as well to try and mitigate it, on top of what my lovely gynecologist did. So not did, but she gave me a script for prescription strength yeast infection, fun stuff. But yeah, so after that and after some dietary changes to help keep them at bay, really the biggest thing from that I've experienced outside of that initial hiccup was the fact that I would get cramps. Granted, I did my research a little bit beforehand, and even on Paragard's website it does say about, cramps can be intensified for a little bit longer after insertion, so like give it like 6 months or so at the, and so I did, and I swore I could like bend metal. This is how bad the cramps were. And I have a family history of bad cramps, but I never experienced this level of bad cramps. But it does go away, and it went away probably about a year into having the IUD. So it does go away, and the main thing that actually helped me outside of like just regular like heating pad or something on my tummy was something my mom suggested was Aleve. Aleve was the only thing that really helped my cramps. And with that, I know some people can't take Aleve or Aleve like products, so take whatever you can. But yeah, that's if you can take Aleve. I took one every 6 hours or so, trying to like break it up, because it was there were some days that was a struggle, and that's when I started to really sympathize with people that just have it regularly, that intense cramps. And so if you need a recommendation for how to like try to like bring it down a notch or two, Aleve, heating pads, hot showers, stress balls, that type of stuff. Those really helped me get through that time. And then the other thing too that kind of didn't die down until almost a year and a half ago was how intense the first few days were for me. And because you do still do the monthly thing, and so the first couple of days, especially the first like 36 hours, was just so intense with what was coming out of me. And up until probably last year and a half, that's when it like really dropped back into like a normal state, and that just might be my body, and just how I react and everything like that. It's still fine, it's still in place, all that stuff. So it wasn't like it was like rubbing against anything or causing any unnecessary bleeding. But yeah, so that was another thing. And a lot of the reason why I wanted to share this was because of when I was doing my research, I saw like the initials, a lot of videos about the initial, like either literally going in and getting it put in, and the experience, or just even talking about the experience of getting the IUD put in, or like shortly after, but no one had like ever, I didn't see enough, you know, maybe I just didn't see them when I was researching, but I wanted to do something that was like a little bit farther out in the journey of having an IUD in. And the Paragard lasts for up to 10 years. So you can't keep it in for 10 years, and you can always go in and get it taken out at any time in your leisure. It goes the same with, from what I understand, the hormonal birth control is just, if you do choose to, if the reason why you're wanting it put out is because you want to get, you know, try for a baby, the hormonal one, it takes a little bit longer for your body to readjust to, you know, let you have a baby, or try for one anyway. But with the Paragard one, talking to my gynecologist, it's almost immediately, since there is no hormones and it's just copper, which is more of a repellent for the men, or, you know, anyone that could, you know, do that part of, you know, life. And but anyway, so back to my end of it. Sorry, I'm looking so much over here. But yeah, so I did that. But yeah, my main thing was just my diet, switching my diet over to a not so, I don't want to say carb heavy, but yeast heavy. Since my gut health was already having issues prior, and I just never like really took that much into consideration about it, since I had yeast infection like maybe once a year. But it was bad enough with the copper IUD in that it just totally disrupted, for, I don't know if it's correlation or causation, but it was just happenstance for me that I was like, I cannot avoid it. And with my reactions there leading into how I can try to mitigate it, because I really did want this to work, is to mitigate my diet. And I think some of it too, because I was worried a little bit about copper toxicity, which is like a small percentage. It's similar to the effect of, you know, when you get a tampon box, it says about the TSS, toxic shock syndrome. Yeah, TSS. It's similar to that, where a small percentage of people get copper toxicity from, you know, the copper on the IUD, because they already have, you know, an abundance in their body for, you know, various reasons. But so I was kind of worried about that, but more and more, since I wasn't having those symptoms, it was just the yeast infections, and here and there too, it started to become painful, where I was thinking I was at a UTI. I was like, I'm done. Like, if this is gonna keep going, if my diet doesn't fix this, I might need to, you know, look for other forms of birth control. And so from there, thankfully my diet did fix. So I try to limit like my bread intake. As much as I like bread, like I bread, pasta, like anything carby, like I did have to like really mitigate that down and focus in on my diet. Like, and it's not even just yeast you have to mind. You also have to mind sugar, because think of it like if you're going to make a loaf of bread. If you're gonna make a loaf of bread from scratch, you need activated yeast and a lot of the time sugar. Yeast and sugar go like hand in hand. They're like BFFs. They really like to work together. So stuff like, you know, like even the things I was drinking, or, you know, other sweeter things, even though I'm not like you know, the queen of sweets or anything. But it's like I do have to mind, you know, even sugars, in how that balances out my health, and I'm still even trying to work through, you know, the giving that up mentally, because a lot of it too is like feeds back into why I went towards the non-hormonal route, since I wasn't trying. Thankfully, I'm blessed, I'm lucky, I'm whatever you want to label it as. I don't have any underlying health conditions at the moment that would warrant me to go on hormonal birth control. And my main reason was I didn't want to have a kid, and I wanted to protect it from any scenario, because as a, you know, woman myself, it life can be a little scary. And never mind too, like even though I do have, you know, committed people in my life, it just, it's a better vibe for me and my situation and the choices that I've made. I was like, at this moment I don't want kids, and thankfully with with any birth control, you know, give or take, you know, as long as it's trust for, you know, preventing pregnancies or reducing risk of pregnancies, you can stop that at any point. And that was my main thing for wanting to go on birth control, because, like, I don't have acne, I don't have any, you know, lady business, lady organ issues that would warrant the aid of, or help with, you know, hormones. And so, you know, it's just mentally, it gives me a lot of freedom. And granted, I'm looking at this from a positive light, from the few things that have kind of happened since I got this inserted, like my literal health and, you know, dietary stuff, breaking the mental of it, really also does come into play for me, and it's helped me take better steps, you know, elsewhere. So that's kind of some of my reasoning, if you want to know, on why I went with a non-hormonal birth control such as Paragard. And so it is possible to have a contraceptive that kind of sticks in you, and it does get better over time, and it does kind of even out. And I know this is, you know, this is anecdotal, this is my experience with it, and this is why I wanted to share with the whoever's watching, whether it be you or like a friend you share to, whoever, because there's never going to be enough people talking about various forms of birth control, because I think everyone should be talking about, you know, their experiences with X, Y, Z, you know, different forms, how long they were on, their, you know, their process and stuff like that, so we can all make an informed decision when we do choose to or not to partake in contraceptive birth control, or however you want to look at it. But yeah, so that's my thoughts, and I'm gonna stop rambling now. Bye.